It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions. Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Monday? We do. From the DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego, we welcome you to our Monday bonus podcast. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, along with my co-host broadcasting from left field per the norm, John Riley. We welcome you to Hacksaw's Headlines. Our podcast, coming off this great sports weekend, is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. You've got projects, they've got materials, you need ideas, they'd be glad to be your consultant. Think DIXIELINE Lumber. John Riley, multiple choice exam. Are we going to talk baseball playoffs? Are we going to talk NFL football? Are we going to talk college football? We're going to check off all the boxes. Man, there's a lot to cover.
A ton to cover, and the fans have got words for you, Lee, about the Padres. We're going to break it all down, but let me just ask you, how was your trip to the Northern Adirondacks?
It was phenomenal. Beautiful colors. That's why we go the first week of October. I told you that you had to be out of there by October 15th because winter shows up. Today at my cottage, sleeting and snowing all day long. Aren't you glad I am back? I am glad I am back. I was not going to try to do a podcast outside under the gazebo with sleet and snow around me in the Northern Adirondacks, but it was fun. And based on what I've heard, people kind of enjoyed the venue, all the scenery behind me.
Yeah, it was nice. I mean, it was a nice setup you have there, but welcome back to America's finest city.
We're going a lot of different directions, couple of business items. When we're done with this podcast, you're going to take over your podcast. We want you to join us. We created this thing where you can get involved. It used to be like first-time callers, long-time listeners, jump on board. Well, now we got Fans Forum. John Riley is going to explain for everybody who's new on the podcast how you participate in podcast talk.
Yeah, we created this thing, and here it is. It's Fans Forum. All right, this is your chance. You've got a question or comment in the world of sports for Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. Just type it into the live chat on Facebook, X, or YouTube. Social media people are ready to pile on Hacksaw about his commentary about the Padres-Dodgers series, so just let it rip. If you got some comments or questions, just drop them in the live chat.
Easy for you to say. You won't be on the receiving end of those critiques, will you?
No.
So we got that. Second item. Hey, if you like sports, I write about sports every day. With apologies in advance, I'm better than your daily newspaper sports section. Just go to my website. When we're done with the podcast, I want you to sample my website. There it is, the address, leehacksawhamilton.com. There's a ton of stuff there. Best 15 minutes in sports, one man's opinion column, our Hacksaw mini polls. If you check it every morning, you'll know everything there is going on in the world of sports. And by the way, when you go to my website, right there on the homepage, there's a big orange box. It's Hacksaw's Insiders Group. We want you to join our club. Just fill it out. You'll get on our email list. Also want to remind you, share and subscribe. Tell everybody what we do. Mondays at 1 p.m., Thursdays at 1 p.m., and subscribe to the YouTube channel, because you subscribe, you'll get the alerts every time we put something up on the YouTube channel. Then that happens lots of different hours of the day or in the evening. So want you to be part of everything. Fans Forum, the most important part of this podcast, once we get done with the most important part, which was topics on the table. John, ready, set, go.
Okay, here we go. Talking National League Division Series, but let's break it down from the Padres' perspective. You have an autopsy.
Padres autopsy. Nice word you put up there. Great season, great disappointment. I will pull an old baseball term out. So close, but yet so far away. Talking about the Padres' hopes versus the Padres' failure. Another baseball axiom, good pitching beats good hitting. Summarize all that. The Padres lose to the Dodgers in a series that was electric. Man, we checked off a lot of boxes in this series. We had a little bit of playoff hate. We had a beanball. We had a lot of MFs directed from the field to the dugout. We had problems with the umpires. Obviously, we had all types of pitching issues. We had hitting issues. We had pitching dominance. We had bullpen days. And we had a bullcrap decision by the Padres manager. How do you go with a batting order that was number 1 in all of Major League Baseball? Please tell me how you go 24 innings and don't score a run with the number 1 hitting team in Major League Baseball, the Friars. If you had told me before the series started that Arise would hit 182, I said, no way. If you had told me Machado, see the back of my baseball card, would hit 179, I said, absolutely no way. If you had told me the middle of the batting order, Manny, Profar, and Merrill would hit 192, I said, I seriously doubt that. All that is what happened. The Padres went 24 straight innings without scoring a run against the Dodgers. Season over. I think they're going to be haunted forever by the decision that Mike Shildt, smart guy manager, made to send Dylan Cease out there to pitch on that Wednesday game. Had they won that Wednesday game, series would have been over. Padres would have had 4 days to reset the rotation. God, they would have been in great shape for the series against the New York Mets. Why you would pick Dylan Cease on 3 days rest, he had never worked on 3 days rest in his career. Why you would pick Dylan Cease in his last start, he weathered through 83 pitches and the Dodgers lit him up. Why you would pick Dylan Cease to come out and pitch on Wednesday with all those negatives swirling around him. His heart was willing, his body, his arm was not. I mean, they could have gone with Martin Perez. They could have created a bullpen day if need be. And then even if they lost, you still would have had Yu Darvish. But they were behind the 8 ball right from the get-go, and they never, ever rallied. I mean, it's, to me, that's going to haunt them. That's there. You wear that around your neck. The Padres need to own it. For all the brilliant things Mike Shildt did, this was a really bad decision because I don't know any analytical metrics that said this was the right decision. And by the way, in the other dugout, and we've talked extensively about the Dodgers, Dave Roberts, the people upstairs, the memos, the analytics, good decisions, bad decisions. What they figured out by going to their bullpen day and how to send their relievers in what inning to match what the batting order was, that was bleeping brilliant. I'm sorry. Dodger analytics guys shut out Padre analytics guys when it came to decisions about pitching. I mean, I almost fell off the bar stool when I saw Kopech come in, your closer, your 100-mile-an-hour guy, come in the 4th inning. In the 4th inning on that bullpen day. But why? Because he was going to face the heart of the Padre order, and what did he do? 1, 2, 3. Just like that. And when they needed matchups, here came the left-handed hitters. Who did they go to? Vesia. What Vesia do? 1, 2, 3. Just absolutely stunning. Their analytics figured it all out, matching right-hander versus right-hander, left-hander versus left-hander, and they had the depth in the bullpen to do it. And I guess the thing that blows me away totally, this is the same pitching staff that at midseason had a 10-game lead and saw it fall to 2 games in the final month because they had nobody healthy. You couldn't trust their starters. They were all on the DL. And the bullpen went through a stretch where he said, my God, these guys can't pitch anymore. Their ERA was almost 7 in the months of July into August when the big lead in the pennant race went down to 2. And yet these guys showed up in October. Wow. So Dodger Blue people deserve a lot of credit. Padres, what a disappointing end. Like I said, great season turns into great disappointment. And of course, we obviously have to deal with the terrible setback with Musgrove, the Hassan Kim surgery, etc. But everybody's got injuries. Just look at the Dodgers, how many surgeries they've had, and they're still playing baseball. So I come away, my left hand says, what a fun summer of covering baseball, talking baseball, all the unique things, the come-from-behind wins, the walk-offs in the 9th inning, the kid in center field, the no-hitter, and all that. So many great flashbacks to this Padres season, but it's offset by what happened right at the end of the season in the playoffs, and I think a bad manager's decision. End result, Padres are like you and me, watching the playoffs and now the World Series on TV. I know you got opinions. I know you want to pile on. Just stay with us. Everybody will get the chance to take their shot. But remember, there's always return fire. So fans forum coming up right at the end. Be it Padres, be it Dodgers, be it good, be it bad, your opinion counts too. I've said a lot. John Riley, it's your turn.
Well, there's so many different levels to this, isn't there, Lee? I mean, there's the whole part of the story of how the Padres lost, the part of the story of how the Dodgers won, and then all the shenanigans that went around the whole game. So let me see if I can break this down succinctly. As a Padre fan, I'm blown away. I was in mourning for 24 hours after that loss. It kills me. It's the San Diego sports curse over and over and over again. It's tough being a sports fan in San Diego. But you're right. We had a great run. It was a fun season. There was a lot to be happy about. But how in the hell did this team suddenly stop hitting? And they talked all year about how we grind and we fight. We're always fighting back. It looks like they almost gave up. It was like they waved a flag, and Manny Machado waving at those balls down and away. Same with Tatis. I was wondering, were they all trying to hit like home run balls to be a hero? What happened to the put the ball in play and move runners around? When you lose one of the games 2-0, you should have won that one. I mean, so, and I don't blame Mike Schilt for Dylan Cease. I mean, you got to score runs. It doesn't matter who you pitch. You got to score, and they didn't score.
Didn't score, but they were in the hole right from the get-go, which made it really hard. Understand that. Now, why did they not hit? Baseball players and the hitting coaches, they study all the statistics and the graphics. They know the strengths and weaknesses of each guy that they're going to face. But when you're facing 8 different guys in a 9-inning game, and those guys are all coming out throwing smoke, and that's what the bulk of that Dodger bullpen does, that's pretty tough to make adjustments. It's not like you get to look at John Riley in the first inning, and then you'll see him second time through the batting order in the 4th inning, and maybe in the 6th inning, you get a third kick at the can. They're getting one look at these guys, and here comes Kopech throwing 100. That's tough to catch up to. And then you got Evan Phillips and some wicked stuff. And that takes time to adjust to. So I think the fact that there were 8 different game plans they had in their head when they're coming to the plate, because they had to face 8 different guys. You know, the law of averages says 8 relievers are not going to get the side out on a consistent basis. But on that given day, they sure did. So I think that's the answer to the question about where did their offense go? You weren't facing the pitcher the first time, second time, third time through the batting order. You're getting one look.
That's no excuse. I mean, because when you face a starting pitcher, it's your first time looking at him in the 1st and 2nd inning. So they still need to be productive. So I don't accept that at all. I mean, there's been all kinds of conspiracy theories that gambling was involved, or, you know, the Padre players were angry about this or that. I can't comprehend how they dropped so quickly, so fast at the end, when you had a 2-1 series lead going home to win game 4 at Petco and just completely laid a frickin' egg. It just boggles my mind. I mean, I apply logic and reason to it, it just drives me crazy. So I'm trying to put baseball at arm's length here for a day or two till I can kind of get my senses back. But besides the Padres, I do want to talk about the Dodgers and all the other shenanigans. We can do that?
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
But at the end of the day, the analytics guys in Los Angeles did a hell of a job against the analytics guys that A.J. Peller's side put there. I mean, and then the pitchers went out and they threw smoke. And they didn't walk anybody. They hardly allowed any base hits. They retired 19 guys in a row. I mean, it's phenomenal.
Well, it's phenomenal from the perspective of how not everyone, but so many people wanted to fire Dave Roberts because he couldn't manage a pitching staff in the playoffs. And he was always pulling guys too early or too late. And this time he did it perfectly, you know, which is also mind-blowing. And there were no mistakes. There were no let-ups. I mean, were the Padres maybe picking up on pitches? You know, were they tipping pitches in the first few games and then they lost that strategic advantage when they went over? I don't know, but it seems that Roberts did everything right for all the things he was criticized against. So the Padres did a 180 and the Dodgers did a 180 in the other direction, which just blows me away.
You need a break.
Big
You
time.
need an off season. Do you think you'll be okay by the time the Cactus League opens in February?
Well, yeah, I'm refueling some of my frustration, but I took a 24-hour mourning period after that, and I just was kind of getting over it all. I couldn't watch game one of the series. I saw the highlights, Dodgers Mets. Couldn't watch it, but I'll get ready for game two. But yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I remember back in the 90s when you were doing Charger play-by-play, when the Chargers would lose on Sundays, I felt crappy on Mondays because it's so emotional for me. I'm feeling the same way now.
I ached. I walked out of this pub in upstate New York because I don't have cable or TV in my cottage, and I went to a biker's bar, and I was surrounded by Yankee and Mets fans. And here I am, and my wife's wearing a San Diego hoodie, the Padre hoodie, and they were looking at me, and I was looking at them, and they kept asking me, and then they found out who I was, and I wound up having to do a talk show with all these biker guys who were Yankee and Met fans or drunk Buffalo Bills fans. So it was really hilarious. But I came out, I ached. I was on such a downer because I had such great expectations. I thought this thing set up really well, and the minute I found out that Dylan Cease was given the ball after an 82-pitch outing in which he got racked the prior start by the Dodgers, I said, this is not good. And it wasn't good. And they were in a hole right from the get-go. And then, as we said, the Dodger analytics guys matched my flamethrower versus those right-handed hitters. And when they sent a left-handed batter up, that left-hander was coming out of the pen doing it. So tough loss.
Isn't this just crazy? I mean, you think about Marlon McCree with the Chargers. You think about this season, the playoffs with the Padres. The Aztecs had a top 4 program, and the tournament gets canceled because of COVID. We can make a huge list of all of these things that have happened to San Diego sports teams that are just unbelievable.
So if I look up here, the roof is not going to cave in on this great podcast, is it?
Well, the podcast, I think, is doing all right. It's just the San Diego sports teams. It's just so frustrating.
Okay. Time out. No whining. No complaining.
Okay.
We're asking Padre fans and Dodger fans, want you to pile in so you can pile on with an opinion. The Fans Forum chat box is open, so feel free to make a statement, ask a question, tell us what you think. We go from Padre baseball. Let's talk Dodger blue.
Dodger blue, you got to give it up, man. Their pitching was outstanding, shutting them out.
Shutout city and big bats. I was shocked if you had told me before I had my first beer at the bar that Ohtani would hit 200 in the series and the Padres would wind up losing. I said, no, that can't be. But it was. Ohtani had the one blast. Betts came up big. Freeman came up big. Teoscar Hernandez came up big. Kiki Hernandez, holy cow, team utility man. That was a really impressive performance, coupled, obviously, with the pitching. So now this Dodger pitching staff, as they go into this Monday game against the New York Mets, have thrown 33 straight shutout innings at the most important time of the year. They've tied a major league record. Back in 1966, the Dodgers played the Baltimore Orioles in the World Series. The Orioles swept them. That 1966 Orioles pitching staff included Jim Palmer, Mike Cuellar, and a number of others. They threw 33 straight shutout innings against the Dodgers in the World Series. That was the record that the Padres or the Dodgers have just tied. And of course, now with this Monday game starting, we'll see how many more shutout innings they're going to string along there. So that was really impressive. And, from one start to another, I shouldn't have said it, but I wrote it. I called Jack Flaherty a red ass for the way he argued with Machado, and he got upset and plunked Tatis, and he was spitting bullets because he wasn't throwing bullets on the mound when they knocked him out of the box.
Yeah, I'll meet you outside.
Yeah, and he comes out in game one, and he throws 7 shutout innings, 7 strikeouts, 2 hit ball against the red-hot New York Mets. So you never know from one start to the next what you're going to get. But that was a big-time step-up performance by that red-ass right-hander of the Los Angeles Dodgers. So, and the fact that he went deep into that game, that gives that bullpen more breathing room. Now, bullpen day, game 2, Mets bullpen game. Ryan Brazier and all those other guys are coming out of the pen today in the second game. We'll see if they can reprocess what they did against the Padres when they had the bullpen day and shut them down in that 8-0 game. So the Dodgers are a complete baseball team. And right now, I think philosophically, I've always had this idea. We get to October. Are you hot? And are you healthy? The Dodgers are hot. I mean, they finally held off in the pennant chase and pulled away. And the Dodgers, for the first time in a long time, are really healthy. So they've checked off 2 boxes. Now they just have to go out and play. And right now, I think they're better than the Mets. And right now, hell, if this is a collectively good stretch for the Dodgers, they're probably better than the Yankees in the American League. So I think this Dodger-Mets series is not going to go the distance. I think it'll be a much shorter series. And John Riley says,
well, I think a lot of people said early on that the winner of the Padre Dodger NLDS was going to win the whole thing. And I think it's shaping up that way. As far as the Dodgers and, tip of the hat, I mean, 33 shutout innings. It's just, again, incredible.
In modern day baseball, yes.
And after we've talked so long about how their pitching staff was a shambles and you can't abuse a bullpen. I mean, it's unexplainable. But, here's a guy. Well, first, I was thinking first about the 33 scoreless innings. It makes me think of Oral Hershiser when he had, 58 1/3 scoreless innings on his own.
So during the course of the regular season. But in the regular season, you're also pitching against the Rockies and the White Sox and the Pirates.
Yeah.
We're talking about the best of the best.
Exactly. Now, the one dude that on the Dodgers that I want to tip my hat to is Teoscar Hernandez. I think that guy is a good dude. I remember when he was being interviewed, he won the home run derby at the All-Star game. He was interviewed. He was there with his wife and his kid, and he just seems like a quality guy. He went to LA to win in the playoffs, and sure enough, they're winning, and he had a big bomb. So I'm happy for him. Dodger fans are they're ecstatic. Dodger fans are sticking it not just to you, but to Padre fans in general. They're all jumping around like dancing peacocks. But I do expect the Dodgers will continue. I just don't know how long this magical pitching staff is going to hold up. At some point, you think it's going to have to collapse, right?
Well, if you're having stressful innings, and that's the thing, when they went through that 8-pitcher bullpen game, none of those guys had stressful innings. Nobody was out there for 33 pitches. That's the key. If it's 12 pitches and my 1 inning is done, that's great. Now, if the first guy out of the bullpen scuffles in that first inning and winds up 31 pitches and you have to go pull him, now that changes the whole scope of the whole bullpen thing because now you're reaching earlier than you wanted.
Yeah.
But the fact you had 8 guys that were near letter perfect with no stressful innings, Flaherty had no stressful innings yesterday in that start. Yamamoto in his start, against the Padres, he hardly had any stressful innings either. And then the bullpen and the infield bailed them out with double play balls too.
Amazing. I mean, Roberts went from incompetent to a genius overnight.
Well, because of the memo with the analytics. This is what we recommend: right-hander versus right-hander, left-hander versus left-hander. Everybody gets 1 inning. And bingo, they hit the jackpot. Every one of those relievers.
Well, then how did the analytics guys figure it out? I mean, what's the inside scoop here?
They got computers, and they'll look at the computer, and they'll say, okay, Jackson Merrill doesn't hit well against X number of left-handed pitchers. He doesn't hit well against certain pitches. So when we get to the 4th inning, and that group of left-handed bats are coming up, Crony, Merrill, etc., we make sure that the guy of that bullpen day, that guy in that inning, is a southpaw. That's how you break down all the metrics.
Now, imagine if this completely revolutionizes baseball and we move away from starting pitchers as a philosophy.
No, you can't do that. That's a once a week thing at best, because you do need relief pitchers for the next game and the game after that. You can't keep going back to them. But this was a one-time unique situation. Okay. Dodger fans, we are reserving the left side of the screen for you in Fans Forum. You got an opinion on what you just observed. If you have an opinion about the host, if you want to talk about the guy out in left field, you want to pile on Padre fan, go ahead. Feel free. It will be an open forum on Fans Forum when we are done. Next baseball topic.
The ALCS, the Yankees, they look pretty loaded here, I think.
Yeah, this is interesting because you got the big bats, and I'm talking primarily the 3 home run hitters, Soto, Stanton, and the Judge combined for 136 home runs during the regular season. Stanton is a shell of what he was when he was with the Miami Marlins. He was a great player. He's had so many injuries, yet Stanton is healthy right now, and Stanton is hot. Stanton's won some games, whereas Judge and Soto haven't hit yet, but it's early in the process. Clemens looks healthy. Not Clemens, I'm sorry. Garrett Cole looks completely healthy. So you got Cole, you got Rodon, who won 16 and a bounce-back season, and you got the young pitcher, Luis Gil, who's got 15 wins. Only glitch with the Yankees, I don't like their bullpen. I think their bullpen's a little bit shaky. The flip side, though, is Cleveland. Cleveland's collective team batting average is 238. 238. Now, they got a 49 home run hitter in Jose Ramirez, and they got Josh Naylor, who's evolved into a long ball threat. But I think you can pitch around those guys, and I don't think the other guys are going to be able to hit. Now, Cleveland's got good pitching. Not a lot of sexy names there, led by Tanner Beebe. And the fact is that Cleveland got there without Shane Bieber, who was the ace of their staff, who blew an elbow out in early spring. But I think this series is going to be fairly short. So the Yankees are back, and it's odd because in June, they were screaming for Brian Cashman's head because the Yankees went through a bad stretch. I mean, he lost a pile of games, and people said, overpaid, underachievers. It's your fault, Brian Cashman. And now they're playing in the American League Championship Series with a legitimate chance to be in the Fall Classic. So what do you think, Yankees, Cleveland? Or are you just so psyched out you're only burning your brains on Dodgers, Padres?
Well, the other GM that was in trouble was the one with the Mets, too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because of all the big money being spent. And every one of those big money teams resurrected it. I'm with you. I think the Yankees are going to roll here. The question I wonder about is, it may set up to be another Yankees-Dodgers World Series like in the late 70s, and those were memorable. That was the Reggie Jackson 3-home run game and all that. But then there's the possibility of another Subway Series, although granted the probability is low. Now that then gets to the point of what do the executives in the sports media, what do they want? Do they want the big market teams, and what's better for baseball? And is there a conspiracy to make sure that those teams win? In the end, I think it would be cool if we get another Dodger-Yankee World Series, and then we'll just see this thing play out. I'm not sure who I'll root for, though.
Here's the question. I mean, Rob Manfred and MLB, they got lucky. They hit a home run. You could have Ohtani versus Judge. Do you think a few people would watch that? Oh, I think the whole world would stop to watch that. Or you could have Subway Series. Back in the day, Yankees, Mets. I don't know if the rest of the world would watch it, but I know everybody in the 212-718 area code probably would. So which is better for baseball? I tend to think Ohtani Judge would be much better for baseball globally. In addition to across the country, I think the Yankees versus the Mets, yeah, that's sexy as it relates to anybody in New York State. I don't know if people out on the West Coast or in Texas are going to care about the Yankees-Mets, but baseball kind of hit the jackpot here.
I think some of the MLB creative people are creating a new on-screen graphic that says Aaron Judge will be up in the next 3 batters. Right? I mean, what did you think of that whole Ohtani graphic?
Yeah, it's always keep watching. Don't walk away. He's coming up a week from Tuesday. He'll be up here. So I think the World Series is going to be fascinating, but this has been a really interesting baseball series. You got opinions? Hey, we're going to go to Fans Forum, try to get to it early, give you a lot of time here. By the way, no foul balls. Don't hit any foul balls if you're coming into the chat box on Foul Forum. Bring the heat. Meet. We want to hear what you've got to say about Major League Baseball. Hey, we get to halftime. This podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. You've got projects. I don't care if it's bookcases, if it's shelving, if it's closets. You got projects inside the house. These are the people to do business with. You got stuff outside, windows, doors, insulation. These are the people to do business with. You got a pool, want to change the look, the deck, the patio? DIXIELINE Lumber for you. We've done business with them. We're glad we did. You got a project, do business with them too. These guys, DIXIELINE Lumber. Back here at halftime, a podcast coming up right at the end. We're going to wrap it up and give you a chance to join us. If you've never participated, this has really become kind of cool. This thing that John created, it's his fault. It's his baby. You blame him if you don't like it, but I guarantee you will like it. We call it Fans Forum. Just explain the process.
The process. Okay. So you can't pick up a phone and make a call. In this case, you got to drop your comment or question in the live chat on Facebook, X, or YouTube. We'll get to all of them or at least as many as we can at the conclusion of Hacksaw's headlines. We're going to talk football, and then we'll get to Fans Forum.
Fans Forum. If you like sports, I'll invite you to check my website when we're done with this podcast. Just punch it up, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. I write on it every day of the week. Doesn't matter what your favorite sport is. There's a baseball page. There's all things NFL, college football, basketball, hockey, and everything else. So check that out. And when you go to my homepage on the website, there's an orange box. That's for Hacksaw's Insiders Group. We invite you to fill it out so you can get on our email list for all the different things that we send out. Also want you to share, want you to subscribe, share, tell everybody on social network what you do on Mondays at 1 and Thursdays at 1. Tell them about Hacksaw's podcast. And when you subscribe, and you can do that on the YouTube channel, you'll get the alerts every time you put something up on the YouTube channel. One other note, we do so many unique and very different things here. I'm also really involved on social media, and I know you are. Don't lie to me. Show me your driver's license. I know you're on social media. You're on Twitter. You're on X. Hell, this guy reads all the junk I put out there. I want you to become a member of my Twitter All-Star team. I want you to follow me. It's at Hacksaw1090, at Hacksaw1090. Hit the follow button that time. Every time I put stuff up on the Twitter account, on X, you'll know it's there. All right, John. We're ready. We go to the second half. All things NFL on what was an upside-down weekend.
Yeah, winners and losers in the NFL. And it looks like the Chargers, they did all right in Denver.
Yeah, what a weird day. This game starts up in Denver. Justin Herbert comes out and is throwing the ball all over the field. They obviously, in their game plan and scout report, thought there wouldn't be much of a pass rush and they could complete passes, and they did. And they went up and down the field, and Justin Herbert had a good game. But in the first quarter, Jim Harbaugh left the field. He was escorted by trainers to the locker room. He said, "What's this about?" And I thought, maybe he's got the flu. And on my back of my mind, I said, maybe he doesn't feel well because maybe he's got heart irregularities. And we found out that was the story. Heart arrhythmia. He had a heart arrhythmia situation during the walkthrough on Saturday, did nothing about it, didn't tell anybody. And on Sunday before the game in the locker room, he felt weird again. Irregular heartbeat. So they took him back in. They did some type of electrocardiogram test, and they were able to stabilize the heartbeat, came out at the end of the first quarter, and then did the game. And then he revealed in the postgame press conference he's had 3 arrhythmia situations while being a coach, and he's had 2 ablations, which is the electronic stimulation to knock the heartbeat back into routine, and he might have that again. So that was kind of a weird story. The other aspect of the Chargers, they had offensive linemen. They had guys going down. Guys were getting dinged. They were at one point, Slater came out, Alt came out, and Pippins came out, never ever came back in. So they had 3 offensive linemen that got nicked. Slater and Alt eventually did come back into the game. They beat up a bad Denver Broncos team, and they had a 23-0 lead, and they kind of took their foot off the pedal. Bo Nix came back, and he was throwing the ball all over the place, running for his life. He's gifted. He's really good. Hope they don't get him killed. They don't quite have enough players yet, but you could see, based on he completed 15 passes in the fourth quarter. He threw for like 180 yards in the fourth quarter. And if there'd been one more possession, hell, he might even tied the game in the fourth quarter. But so the Chargers win. So everybody's happy. Well, let's be realistic here. Please, please, time out. They're 3-3. Who have they beaten?
The Panthers.
Carolina, Denver in the midst of a major rebuild, and the dysfunctional Raiders. Those are the 3 wins. So please excuse me while I reserve judgment that, John, don't order any damn playoff tickets yet. So anyhow, that's the Charger game plan. Raiders situation. I swear to you, they set football back 1,000 years yesterday in Las Vegas. The Steelers beat the Raiders. Has to be an all-time ugly game. Steelers can't move the football. Najee Harris had just a shade over 100 yards, had one big run. Raiders keep turning the thing over. No Devontae Adams. Their defense is chewed up with injuries. Raiders are a -10 in turnover ratio, and we're just 6 weeks into the season. And if Antonio Pierce is not in trouble yet as head coach, Antonio Pierce should be in trouble as head coach. So Pittsburgh wound up beating the Raiders, and the Raiders have yet to solve the whole Devontae Adams holdout. Just everything going on with the silver and black spins you back to what I call them, the silver and bleak. Just, it's absolutely ugly. Baltimore, Washington. Big test for the kid. I thought Jaden Daniels played really, really well. Didn't turn it over, but Baltimore, way too much firepower. 484 yards in total offense. Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, what a combo. And as long as they keep those guys healthy, and this is such a physical, brute force football team that the Ravens had. So Baltimore pounds Washington, but Jaden Daniels continued to play well. Happy birthday, Jerry Jones, Dallas Cowboy owner. How bad was that? Final score, Detroit 47, Dallas 9. They benched Dak Prescott. There's so many things wrong with Cowboy football right now, and it's not on Dak Prescott. And it might not even be on CD Lamb, although he ought to take the wallet out of his pocket because all the money he's carrying is slowing him down. He's not making a big difference. They can't stop anybody. And they have so many injuries on defense, and they have zero run game. I don't understand. They signed Dalvin Cook, former 1,000-yard rusher Minnesota, and he's not active. And you got Ezekiel Elliott has 8 carries for 15 yards. What are the Cowboys doing? Now, this morning, day after a bad birthday, Jerry Jones, vote of confidence, Mike McCarthy, he is not in trouble. This is an organizational situation. But, boy, they're not good. What is good is Baker Mayfield in Tampa. Boy, he put on a show yesterday. Outgunned New Orleans, killed New Orleans. Mayfield, 325 yards passing, 4 more touchdowns. They're just chucking it all over the field. And they got this young running back who came out of Arizona State. He was only a part-time player because of injuries, Rashad White. And he's just pounding it. And he's got an extra gear running the football. And obviously they got Mike Evans. Chris Godwin's had back-to-back double-digit games. I think he had 11 catches yesterday. The week prior, he had 12. Tampa is really rolling. Houston nails New England. Knew that was going to happen. C.J. Stroud and that cadre of wide receivers and Joe Mixon, the ex-Bengal, another 100-yard game. The interesting thing was New England force-fed Drake May. Now, he threw 3 interceptions, but he threw 4 touchdown passes too. I mean, he was spraying the ball. He was standing in the pocket with a lot of heat around him, and he got the ball out and got the ball down yardage. Cleveland, this gets worse, and yet they can't bench him. I'm talking about Deshaun Watson. I'm talking about the Browns. Here's a stat that is staggering to the mind. They have a stretch in Cleveland on third downs with Deshaun Watson at quarterback in the recent weeks, including yesterday. They had 1 first down in 27 third down opportunities.
What?
1 for 27 with your quarterback. And he took 5 more sacks yesterday. He's got 31 sacks now in 6 games. And he doesn't look like he can play the game anymore. And here, by the way, he's worth $230 million guaranteed.
Do you think he even cares?
I don't know. He's not playing with any fire in his gut because you have a good team around him. Just a disaster. And they got pasted yesterday by the Philadelphia Eagles. By the way, speaking of the Eagles, we got one coach that's been fired. We got rumors out there could be a couple more, maybe Jacksonville. A lot of people upset at McCarthy in Dallas. Nick Sirianni, why would you do this? Towards the end of the game, and they're winning against Cleveland, he turns around, walks behind the bench, and he's barking at Eagle fans who are barking at him.
Really?
I saw the video. I said, Nick, what are you doing? Why are you picking a fight with your own fans?
Exactly.
Because they've been hostile. They've been all over it.
Philadelphia fans hostile.
Yeah. You think? So that was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. They're winning the game. Now, granted, it's been kind of a substandard start to the season, coupled with last year's 1-6 finish. Sirianni is not being held in high regard. Chicago took out Jacksonville. Caleb has arrived. Caleb Williams. He's had back-to-back 300 games. Yesterday, he threw for 4 touchdowns. He looks so different. And they're running the football with DeAndre Swift. Keenan Allen finally healthy on the field. He caught 2 touchdown passes. And in Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence, they just don't have enough people around him right now. They're sitting there at 1-5. Now, the ownership, Shad Khan, says, I'm backing Doug Peterson. Well, I don't know how much longer that's going to go, but the Jaguars' playoff hopes, for the most part, have been extinguished. Not by the hurricane in Florida, but obviously by what's happening on NFL Sundays. So those are some of the big storylines from games in Week 6. John, the floor is yours. Tell me what you think.
Isn't it funny how a vote of confidence for a head coach is usually the kiss of death?
Bingo.
Usually a few weeks or months later, they're gone. A couple of comments here. The main thing is I love seeing these young kids have success. Caleb Williams, Drake May had his moments. Bo Nix had his moments. I think this is great for the game. And I just love, seeing the young guys do well, while we see some veterans like Deshaun Watson just look atrocious. So it's all part of, do they have that magic touch, that secret sauce that can differentiate, a Peyton Manning from a Ryan Leaf, and it's almost hard to describe it, but it's like porn. You know it when you see it, and those guys are good. And so I'm really happy for them. The Chargers, they won in Denver. That's fine. I'm less emotional about the Chargers. I'm kind of getting over that as well, but we can add that to the list of the San Diego sports curse.
And Raider Nation, do you have something you'd like to say to people wearing silver and bleak?
It's done what you can say. I mean, it's just a freaking disaster. I mean, Pittsburgh fans showed up in Vegas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the Raiders are just a mess, but you got to solve the quarterback problem before you do anything.
Okay. All things NFL, you got an opinion. Fans Forum chat box will be open. Want you to jump on board. If that wasn't enough, then we had all things on Saturday. Now, this is cool. So I flew back from my cottage in upstate New York. I was in the air all day, 14-hour trip coming home, takes forever. I got to watch a whole pile of games on Delta Airlines.
Hey.
I mean, I was really impressed. I went from game to game to game. It was really impressive. Let's talk college football, because the upsets that occur on a Saturday by Saturday basis are amazing. Statement game, Oregon Ducks. What a shootout, 32-31 over Ohio State. Dylan Gabriel, the transfer quarterback, lit the Buckeyes up. Man, there were so many great athletes on the field in that game. I'm talking high draft picks. Those two teams combined for 963 yards, up and back and up and back. And Dylan Gabriel was pretty impressive. And the first time they really had a breakout offensive game down the field. So that was amazing. Dan Lanning, just what a firebrand he is as head coach of the Ducks. Man, he lost his mind on the sidelines at the end of the game, and he's running around and he's high-fiving and he's hitting people and patting them on the back and knocking them down and running into the Ohio State quarterback by accident while he was slapping hands with a police officer. I mean, he was really wired. But statement game for Oregon. Here's the unique thing. Those dudes are probably going to meet again in the regular season.
Right on.
Big Ten championship game.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
And there might be a potential in the college football playoff. They butt heads somewhere down the road.
Excellent.
It was really cool. I wish I could say something was cool about USC, but another last-second loss. How's the move to the Big Ten worked? 3-3. Lincoln Riley catching a lot of flack. His quarterback, Miller Moss, hung in there. Woody Marks had a 100-yard game running the football against Penn State. But in typical Southern Cal fashion, in the era of Lincoln Riley, not much defense. And Penn State went up and down the field. Drew Allar, their second-year quarterback, threw for 391. They got a tight end, Ty Warren. I've never seen this. Well, actually, I did one time. A game I broadcast in college football. I've never seen this in modern-day football. Ty Warren caught 17 passes for 234 yards.
Wow.
He's He's tight end, H-back, fullback. They ran him all over the place, and he was open from here to the LA Coliseum. I mean, it was an exciting game. Penn State, this might be the best modern-day offense I've ever seen from any at Penn State. At Penn State, it's always run the football, play defense, and we got those bland blue and white uniforms.
Exactly.
And, I mean, they were dynamic. Here's the thing that set me off. And if I hadn't had my seatbelt on the plane, I probably would have stood up. Final possession, Southern Cal. Going down the field methodically with 2 minutes to go, 3 timeouts in his pocket. They let a minute 20 run off the clock. They never took a timeout. It's not like you're going to get a bonus if you go to the locker room with timeouts in your pocket. Why did Lincoln Riley not use timeouts at the end of the SEC game so they could plot and configure what they wanted? And instead, they had incomplete passes, took a sack, had a delay a game penalty. You got 3 timeouts, use them. All you needed to do was get the ball inside the 40, you kick a field goal, you win the game. Didn't. Threw an interception right at the end. Now you go to overtime. Penn State goes right down the field. Bingo. So, tough loss. They're 3-3 on the season. UCLA, tough loss. Not a very good Minnesota team, but you lost to them again at the end. Bruins have lost 5 in a row. Ethan Garber's quarterback, he coming off an injury. He competed, but he threw 3 more interceptions. Turnovers are becoming part of the problem there. San Diego State, Wyoming. That's a tough place to play. Now, they're all excited up on the Mesa. The Aztecs got a win. They're now back to 3-3. But Wyoming is one of the worst teams in modern-day college football. They can't freaking throw the football. It's power football, run it if we got a quarterback who can run it, can play a little defense, etc. Aztecs really scuffled and struggled, but they came back and they won it with a touchdown and field goal right at the end. So I'm not hanging my hat on a hell of a lot at San Diego State. They're 3-3. They haven't really beaten anybody yet. They're on a bye week. When they come off this bye week, Vegas, Boise, Washington State.
Oh, here we go.
Now we'll find out how much they've improved or how good they are. So we got that. And one other note, we got the AP poll. It's upside down. I mean, there's so many strange things happening in college football with wins and losses and upsets. I don't think anybody can tell who's the elite team in college football. Now, granted, there's going to be a 12-team playoff because John mandated a 12-team playoff, so everybody will be in the playoff except Eastern Kentucky. So, but what a wild year in college football with, week by week, there's at least 2 massive upsets. And how different is this? This week's poll, read the fine print. Who's 23rd? Who's 25th? Army, Navy.
Yeah.
Both unbeaten. It is the first time since 1960.
Wow.
Army and Navy have been in the poll simultaneously. First time since 1960.
That's amazing.
I don't know how long that's going to last. Of course, Army has to play Navy at the end of the year in their great rivalry game. So what a wild college football season we have. And I thought to myself also that I was so aghast at the death of the Pac-12 conference and the loss of 4 name programs that went to the Big Ten and the other 4 that went to the Big 12. What it's done, though, is it's opened up the window for conference games that used to be non-conference intersectional matchups. So therefore, you got Southern Cal, Penn State in a Big Ten game. That's an addition that we would not normally see. And you got Oregon in its game against Ohio State. And there's still an Oregon-Michigan game out there on the horizon. So as horrible as the death of the Pac-12 was, it's opened up the window for some unique matchups on Saturday that normally would never ever see. John, your turn.
I like that part of it, with Ohio State going to Eugene, Oregon. I mean, it's kind of like the Yankees coming to Petco Park.
Sure.
It's novel, and it was cool to see that. But that game, Oregon against
Buckeyes.
But the Buckeyes was fantastic. It was must-see TV. The play, though, that got me, I had never seen it before, that onside kick where the Duck kicker hit it off the chest of the Buckeye player. Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen that before?
No. And again, with the new rules, it's really different. But man, he blasted that thing.
It was brilliant.
And the thing was, I thought the Ohio State player, field the kick. Don't try to move out of the way and let one of the backup guys get it. But the ball hit him. Field the kick.
Right. But I don't think he even expected it.
No.
It was amazing.
It was line drive.
Yeah. I'd never seen that before.
Velo 101.
Yeah. Just to comment on the other games, I mean, SC definitely did choke down the end. I agree with you. Penn State, I always think of those bland blue and white and that whole thing. So interesting to see that they're a dynamic offense. The Aztecs, you got a brand new coach that has basically flipped the whole roster on its head. You got a freshman quarterback.
He's playing pretty well.
Yeah. And that's kind of my point, is that right now they're 2-0 in the Mountain West. That's not so bad. And their defense has actually been pretty impressive. So there's things there that you can feel a little bit optimistic about, but it seems like we've had to take, a step backwards before we can take 2 steps forward.
Yeah. And the next step forward, you're going to play big boys.
Big boys.
I mean, that's going to be something. Okay. Your turn. Hey, this podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations in San Diego and the new one up in Orange County. You got projects for fall of 24 into 2025. They got materials. DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. John, it's your turn. I assume there's a few people here who've got something to say. Do you want to duck under the table now, or do you want to wait till the bullets start flying?
Well, the bullets are ready to go.
Go ahead.
Let's start here with 4R XLA. Padres got a little too confident after game 3, and their bats fell silent afterwards. A little too much celebrating too soon brought them bad karma.
Well, good pitching beats good hitting, and that was good pitching. I was shocked that the Padres got shut out 24 innings in a row. And it wasn't that they had a pile of guys on base and were hitting in double plays. I mean, they just didn't get guys on the pads, and they couldn't drive them home, and they banged into double plays along the way. Overconfident, maybe, because they had beaten the Dodgers, 8 times during the regular season, and then they had 2 more wins. I mean, so they were 10-6 against LA at that point, and then look what happened. But instead of just bashing on the Padres, let's give credit to what the Dodgers did creatively with the use of the pitching staff, etc. And the big bats came through. Big bats surely did come back through. And I never, ever want to hear Manny Machado ever echo the word to those of us in the working media, check the back of my baseball card.
This whole thing about, were they overconfident and all that, the dancing peacock stuff. I love all that. I mean, to me, this is what makes sports entertaining.
You're big on French pastry.
I mean, Profar robbing the home run and kind of jumping around. And Tatis, he was swinging his balls around in right field. But if you want to talk about bad karma, the Dodgers fans were throwing stuff in the field and trying to hit Profar. And even Roberts admitted that his whole anti-Manny Machado thing was a ruse just to get the focus off of his guys. Now, granted, it worked. It was a brilliant move. But like I said, I think Machado handled himself very well during that. And you can make an argument against Profar and Tatis. I get that. But I thought Machado was a pro, was mature, was a leader throughout that whole series. And for Dave Roberts to suddenly pick a fight with him, to me, that was a disgrace. But the karma went against the Padres, not against the Dodgers. And here we are.
So you're saluting Machado hitting 179.
No, but I like his leadership. I like the meeting in the dugout. I like him standing up for his guys. But yeah, they just got beat. And I'm still trying to process it.
Am I the only one on the planet that thinks the Dylan Cease move will haunt them forever? Because this was the year. This was the opportunity to construct this roster. That's why A.J. Preller spent the resources he did to do it. And your team, I swear to you, John, a year from today, we're doing this podcast. The team next year is not going to be the team this year. They've already got salary issues that they're going to deal with that I don't think they can solve. There is a research piece out that says if the Padres were to bring back everybody, including the arbitration eligible guys and the pay bumps guys are going to get, their payroll would be $231 million, and they can't afford that.
Yeah.
And the theory is that ownership, which has made a big profit this year, is going to want to take this payroll even farther down from the 161 of this year. So this is not going to be the same team next year that we just had. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and they were so close, and they got shut out 24 innings in a row. It just drives me crazy because your team next year is definitely not going to be the team you had this year.
But next year's team might be better. I mean, this year's team was better than last year's team.
Sure.
So, once in a lifetime, there's always a new season. The Dylan Cease criticism is classic Monday morning quarterback here.
Nothing wrong. 2020 rearview mirror. Did you win?
No, we didn't win.
You didn't get out of the freaking second inning.
But if they had rolled out Martin Perez, it's very likely that he would have had a similar result.
But he had a 2.69 ERA and it starts in San Diego. That's better than asking a guy who just threw 82 pitches and got lit up to come back 3 days later as a power pitcher and try to be better.
But he's a journeyman. You're not sure what to expect from the guy.
You could always turn it into a bullpen day.
You could, but in the end, the Padres didn't score any runs, so it doesn't matter. This is all a moot point.
Okay. Thank you for the input, RXL. Let's go to the next one.
Okay, let's go to Greg. He goes, Lee and John, my idea for an 18-game NFL season is for a 1-week break for every team mid-season and up the active roster to 60. This could reduce injuries and allow players to rehab longer.
I think the rest and the recovery is a huge part of the negotiating chip. I'm led to believe that this 18-game schedule is going to be forged. It's going to get done, and the union is going to ask for a bunch of things. And I think the union's going to ask for a bigger active roster on game day, which means full salary. The guys on developmental earn this. But if we go from a 53-man active roster to, say, 58, that's 58 full salaried guys.
Mm-hmm.
And they're also going to ask for bigger developmental squads, which means more money. So, the union's not giving these guys, the league, an 18-game schedule unless they get a wide variety of things in the collective bargaining agreement. And that also obviously includes one less preseason game and maybe even more changes as it relates to OTAs, practices, days in pads, etc. But I would say next fall, it's probably going to be an 18-game schedule, but the owners are going to have to give the Players Association a whole bunch of financial considerations.
So let's say that they do go to an 18-game schedule. Does the NFL get to renegotiate their media rights packages with all the big networks?
No, I don't believe so, because I think the ask that they got, we want X number of dollars from you, CBS, NBC, Fox, etc. I think that contained the ideology that in all likelihood we're going to expand the schedule even more. So I don't think there's more coming.
Oh, so it's sort of baked in.
Now, if there had been a change, like there's going to be more playoff teams, which means more TV games, that would lead to a reopening of how the postseason television contracts are structured.
Okay, that makes sense.
Very good. Thanks, Greg. Next question.
Okay, next question. Let's go to Roy. Hacksaw, I told you our pitching has been in shambles all season, yet best record in baseball. You still asking who pitches Friday for the Dodgers? Padre fans can't settle for, quote, at least we made the playoffs.
Well, you did. And people are just barking at me from across the street and at the fitness center and all that about my stance. But you go back to mid-season, and the Dodgers had only one pitcher in their rotation from opening day. And they had raided Oklahoma City, and all those kids came up, and most all of them got hurt. The latest is Michael Grove, who's just had surgery. He won 10 or 11 games for them this season. He's gone for all of next year. This was what was going on at midseason. Dodgers were looking for volunteers on the right field pavilion. Can you pitch? Eligibility left. So that, and the Dodgers' top-heavy batting order, and the bottom of the batting order, I swear to you, from the 5th through 9th spots at one point, we're hitting 118 to 223. The bottom half of the batting order. So those are the things in June and July that were the topics on the table because that's what we were reviewing. And now we're talking about 33 straight shutout innings from a Dodger staff that's hot and healthy. So to say, hey, shut your bleeping mouth, you don't know what you're talking about. I know what I was talking about in June and July is that we observed what was happening, and I know where we are right now.
This is just so awesome. This is why we love sports. And this is just makes it so fun. Now, while you're gone, while you were up in the upper Adirondacks there, enjoying your beautiful vacation, well-deserved, I'm here. I'm kind of editing a lot of those short videos that we post. And so I'm watching the social media response all throughout the week.
A few people had some things to say. I'm sure.
They did. But I'll tell you what, after game 3, when the Padres ripped the Dodgers, and the Dodger fans on social media were like, season's over. You see, I told you so. Dave Roberts can't do it in the playoffs. Fire Roberts. There was this sort of defeatism among Dodger fans.
And now they've all made a U-turn in the middle of the street.
Exactly. Now, like, we told you so. Our pitching staff, I trusted them the whole time.
Don't you know why I love doing sports talk radio? Don't you know that's why I did with the way I did it?
Yeah, this is great.
Okay. Thanks for the input, Roy. Next question.
Okay, let's go to Javi. Hacksaw, Padres' most dangerous team. Dodgers said, hold my beer. Tatis and Profar can jump all the way to Cancun.
Oh, just feel free to pile on. That's okay. But at the end of the day, we're in San Diego. You're in LA in the traffic jam. Now, granted, you got a great baseball team. Playoffs. What an electric atmosphere. I mean, it's just so on edge. It's just, to be in that clubhouse, and I've been down there. Just it's such a different vibe and a different feel. And I don't care that you just grinded through 162 games. You take a deep breath, and the playoffs have such a different feel in the dugout and in the clubhouse and in the press box and in the press conference. It's the same thing, not just for baseball. It's the same thing in the NFL. Same thing. I covered hockey. You walk in the room in the NHL and, first playoff game, first practice, the focus is so different. So postseason is so cool.
It really is. And this is why we're fanatics about all of this. We just love all the emotion. I mean, just speaking for myself, as a kid, it was the 75 World Series Red Sox that really opened my eyes to a lot of this. This is different than the regular season. This is special. This is up on a platform. But for the longest time, the teams that I rooted for just never participated, or if they did, they got blown out. But it just makes you realize how this is such another level up mentally for all the people involved, the players, the managers, even the sports media.
So you're talking about the Big Red Machine versus Carlton Fisk down the left field line.
Wasn't that a great series? Fred Lynn as a rookie, I was unbelievable.
Love postseason. Thanks for the comment, Javi. Go ahead, next question.
Okay, let's go to Callan. He goes, Lee, so far through just their first 2 games, I've loved the Ducks. Have seemed to clamp down defensively, a lot of block shots and forcing opposing away from any prime scoring areas.
Little bit early to be ordering Ducks playoff tickets, is it not? I mean, let's be honest here. You won opening night, San Jose. That's San Jose rookie team. San Jose with all those draft picks and all those kids under the age of 23. You won. And then you played your second game and you got punched in the mouth by unbeaten Las Vegas. It's a long haul. At the end of the day, I like the goaltender who is here, San Diego goaltender Luca Dostal. I don't know if they have enough defense, but they're playing all their young guys. And they have such a collection of young forwards, led by the kid from, is it Boston College or Boston University? Cutter Gauthier, who came from Philadelphia. He's pretty impressive, but they're too young, and I don't know that they got enough veteran grit to go with all these young kids. But I look at the roster on paper, and I talk to hockey people all the time. I went to the Gulls practice just to watch the young kids who just got sent down. They've got a lot of really good young players, Callum, but at the end of the day, they're young. And you're asking them to play the LA Kings. You're asking Cutter Gauthier not to be intimidated when he lines up for a faceoff against Anze Kopitar, who scored a hat trick on opening night, or Kempe, or Kevin Fiala, or all the other guys. I mean, the Kings have so many veterans who score goals. So it's going to be a long hockey season. I am hopeful that we're going to wake up one day and all these young guys are going to be healthy and they will have all grown together and suddenly they're pretty good. But I don't think right yet.
It's funny how a lot of teams try these rebuilding, and they go young. And then sometimes it's a home run like the Astros. And then sometimes it's a complete flop. But like I said with the NFL segment, I love seeing the young kids like Caleb Williams having success. I'm hopeful the Ducks are going to have some success.
Working in that direction, but it takes time. Callum, thanks for joining us on the Old Canada Network. Next one.
Okay, let's go here to Emmanuel. Sorry, Lee, I can't stay to watch you backtrack on the Dodgers because Game 2 of the NLCS is on right now from Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, it's too bad that it's on at 1, and we're going to get the Yankees, Cleveland Guardians, a.k.a. Indians, in the second game. That series is going to be short and sweet in the American League. I don't know. Do you think this Mets series with the Dodgers go 5, go 7? What do you think?
Well, originally I would say it's not going to go 5 or 7 games, but check this out. We started this live stream at 1:00 and Carlos said 6-0 Mets in the second inning.
Well, anything is possible. Now the Mets might well be back in this thing, but it's only one game. One game usually does not impact the second game unless you burn your bullpen trying to save that second game. So interesting going forward. I mean, that's the Mets. Mets have that kind of lead after how poorly the Mets swung sticks in the first game on Sunday night. Wow.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, good on them.
Next one.
Let's go to Gary. He says, the 2024 Padres are the 2002 Sacramento Kings.
Does that mean the era of Chris Webber and all that failed? Got there and then all of a sudden got away from him?
Yeah, it might be. Wasn't Robert Horry on one of those Kings teams, or was he on the Lakers then?
It was on the Lakers then, I believe.
Was that Vlade era? It might be.
Yeah. So it's a good team. Now there's no, there's no Joe Musgrove going forward. Now there's no Hassan Kim going forward. Now you've got to re-sign Profar, and he's going to want $10 million.
Oh, yeah, at least.
Now you got to re-sign Jackson Merrill. He's not going to play for the second year rookie minimum. I guarantee you that. And you're going to have to configure. They have to move some money around. They have to let some players go. I mean, if indeed management is of the opinion we can't afford $231 million, somebody's going to have to vacate because you got to pay Michael King. I mean, he's deserving of monster money. Now, I don't know if he's going to go to $20 million just like that. So tell you what, November, December, as it relates to contracts, it's going to be a bit of a different team. And the other factor is you stockpile on a lot of age. There's some guys there that are going to be a year older, and sometimes some of those guys wake up as old men and aren't the same player. Bogaerts needs a bounce back season. And by the way, you're on the hook through age 42 with him.
Mm-hmm.
Darvish has been, he's been spectacular, but he's got a lot of mileage on the odometer. So I don't know if it's going to be the same team. I think it's going to be a different team from a roster standpoint. And obviously you're going to have to pay a whole pile of people, including Higgy and his home runs, Higashioka. So going to be a fascinating offseason.
Well, some of the moves are going to be rather obvious. I mean, like old man David Peralta's not coming back. Solano's not coming back. Hassan Kim likely not coming back.
That's 3.
Right.
Now it's Musgrove's gone. That's 4.
Right. Then you've got Tanner Scott definitely not coming back.
Well, you could try. That's 5.
Right.
Okay. So then we're talking about a different franchise now.
Exactly. Yeah. Every year's a new year. I'm with you there, Lee. I mean, this is a very different team this year without Soto than it was with Soto. So, but are the Padres like the Sacramento Kings? Kind of, I mean, it's not really a bad analogy. It's a smaller market. It's a city with only one major sports team and a team that just seems to always struggle.
Well, like I said, and I told you this way back at the trade deadline, when AJ Preller did these deals on top of the Cease and Ariza deal, and by the way, Ariza's contract, they're going to pay all the money this year. Miami paid all the money this past year.
Yeah.
That's $14 million right there.
And Ariza wants a long-term deal.
Yeah. So anyhow, as I told you, this is the year, this year and next, it has to happen. Because beyond that, you got all these guys going to be 35 to 40, and you're stuck with their contracts. And there is nothing in the farm system that's close to being ready at the major league level.
But AJ has boots on the ground. He's going to reload. Merrill's going to be a second-year player. I still think the future is bright for the Padres. It's hell of a lot better than the Chris Denorfia days, so I'm good with it. Yeah. We're going to have, we're going to have to roll Bogarts and Machado out there on wheelchairs at some point, but I'm sure one of those guys is going to become a DH.
All right, Gary, thank you for joining us. Next topic.
Okay, let's go to John. He goes, well, not the podcast we were hoping for. We were hoping we'd be discussing game 2 at Petco against the Mets instead of a postmortem. When the Padres finally do win a World Series, will someone please pour a beer on my grave?
Here to that. It's so tough. It is so tough to grind through the season. And then when you get to postseason, you got to be hot and you got to be healthy because you're not playing the White Sox or the Marlins or the Rockies or the Pirates once we roll into the first week of October. I mean, and look at who failed. No Houston, no Atlanta. I mean, no Baltimore. I mean, look who's not at this party right now. So I love postseason.
And the Phillies.
Oh, you think? Holy cow.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, so yeah, we're still licking our wounds, at least speaking as a Padre fan. Let's keep moving here. Let's go to Roy again. He goes, Dodgers will get better in 25. Padre window to overtake the Dodgers is closed. Dodgers will address pitching and shortstop. Tanner Scott will sign with the Dodgers.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how much higher the Dodger payroll is going to go, although they did creatively finance the deferred money for Ohtani going forward. I think, the bigger issue is they're still going to face this crisis with these injuries with these pitchers. They got so many pitchers who can't pitch in 2025 post-surgery. I mean, every one of those young arms is hurt. We don't know if Dustin May is ever going to come back from the second surgery and then the third surgery. And, they just lost Michael Grove, and he was the most promising one. I mean, the list, I went through the list this morning, said, holy cow, how many guys are they going to be absent? And you got Glasnow. They're on the hook for all this massive money with Glasnow. And he's had elbow problems in LA, Tampa, and Pittsburgh. And he's one curveball away from probably having another surgery. So, the Dodgers are right now rolling. But that does not mean this roster is going to be bounce back next season with all these young arms coming in, because I don't see where these young arms are coming from, because all of them are out coming off surgery.
Yeah. But who else is Buehler and Kershaw? We don't know about their futures. There's a lot of question marks, but just like the Dodgers, they got the money, right? Okay. So they're just going to keep reloading. They're restocking their farm system. They've got a good system, so will 2025 be better than 2024? Well, right now it's hard to top what they're doing in 2024. So
and by the way, Ohtani is going to be taking the ball every seventh day on the mound at Dodger Stadium. Think about that.
Now, I'm trying to remember historically when he came up with the Angels, Ohtani wasn't a pitcher for the first few years, was he?
No, he was.
He was?
Yeah, because he pitched in Japan. He started as a 2-position player there. Now, he was spotted. He pitched once per week. And yet he still did pretty well. And then he broke down, had the elbow surgery, came back from that, pitched again, pitched well, broke down a second time. So, no, but again, he is used judiciously. He is used one time per week, different than what the Dodgers did with Yamamoto, because they put him on a major league cycle every fifth day, and he had never, ever done that. And then he had the shoulder flare up, and he was gone for 3 months. So I think you have to respect where they came from, how they learned how to pitch, and how you handle them. And that's what Andrew Friedman said when the big story broke. I did that thing. I wrote a column about it. We talked about it, about them being the epicenter for all the elbow and forearm surgeries. He said, we're going to have to reevaluate how we import and how we deal and develop these pitchers coming from all different places. Right. Good to have you on board. Thanks for joining us, Fans Forum. Next one.
Okay. Rap Album Depot. Look, people, even as a Frisco Giants fan, I know it's wrong that a DraftKings employee like Ken Rosenthal writing and reporting negatively about the Friars is a major violation. Kenneth should do what's right. And there's a follow-up here. Vegas has too much influence. Rosenthal is a DraftKings employee, and Vegas had the money on the Dodgers.
I don't know that I'd say he's an employee like that. I just didn't understand the framing and the time period for him to write that column. If you want to write the column after they get eliminated from the playoffs, and you want to nail Manny, or you want to talk about Profar's antics, by the way, dude hit 243 second half of the season, you can do that. But to do it at the height of the playoffs, when these guys are rolling and playing so well, and at that point looked like the Padres are about to eliminate the Dodgers, I just don't understand the timing of the column. I thought it was really unfair to those guys. And, he's going to have to carry that. He's going to have to own it, and that's going to be the end of that relationship between the Padres and Rosenthal, and there was no need for it. You can do it if you want to do a, as I said, autopsy, what's the phrase used, postmortem?
Postmortem, yeah.
Yeah, if you want to do that, then you can draw some of this other stuff out. But see, there's no signs that Tatis is a punk. And there's no signs out there that Profar, there's a kid running down the hallway pulling the fire extinguisher.
That was a great visual.
There's no theory that Machado is the same type of guy that he was in Baltimore and he was at Dodger Stadium. So I thought the timing of Rosenthal's column was I thought it was way off.
When that article broke, obviously Padre fans reacted. Clearly, the Padres themselves reacted and boycotted the guy in the dugout. But since the Padres were eliminated, Dodger fan dancing like a peacock, saying Rosenthal was on target. He was right. Profar is a disaster. Tatis is disrespectful. And Machado's a thug. And I'm thinking, how you get upset that Tatis is swinging his balls around in right field, yet in game 5, when Kike Hernandez hits the home run, he comes over and gives the big pelvic thrust to his partner on the on-deck circle. So the double standards are ridiculous. Manny is a good guy. Manny is a leader. He is not the man he was 10 years ago. And I thought for Rosenthal to dredge all that up was unnecessary. He was looking to stir the pot, and that's what happened.
And now I think we can legitimately say we have a rivalry.
Oh, yeah. Well, at least from a Padre perspective. But now Dodger fans probably thinking, we don't really care about you little Padres. We're focused on the Mets and Yankees.
Wrap. Thanks for joining us, Fans Forum. Next one.
Okay, we'll go to Angel. I knew the Dodgers would win, but the way the Padres lost just has me speechless.
I'm speechless. It takes a lot to shut me up. 24 straight innings without a run. How is that humanly possible when you consider this was the number one hitting team in all of Major League Baseball? There's no explanation, which then bothers me because you allowed those guys, the Dodgers, back in the series by putting Dylan Cease out there when if they had done it differently, maybe they would have won in game 4 and they would have set up with 4 straight off days to reset the button with the starting rotation, go into the New York Mets series. That's the thing that's just driving me crazy. And then these guys would have hit again because they'd already hit again.
Yeah. It's just the whole thing, Angel's right. It's just the way they lost is just mind-boggling because it's the exact opposite of what they had been throughout the season. But I'll tell you what, I was getting a lot of emails and texts from my family and friends in the Bay Area, and they were disappointed in the Padres. They were hoping the Padres would knock the Dodgers out. And here we go again, LA back on top.
Angel, thanks for being with us. Fans Forum. Next one.
Okay, this is a funny comment. This is from George. He goes, "That's what's in." You know what he's referencing?
No.
You remember those guys that were wearing the Padre gear on KUSI dancing, and they had that rap song, "That's What's In," it went from 2 years ago when we played the Phillies in the NLCS. Okay. You saw that bit?
Yes, I guess I did.
Yeah. So again, that's another San Diego sports curse thing. It just keeps coming back to haunt us.
Are you Republican? You're into so much conspiracy crap. It's unbelievable.
I am not a Republican.
Okay. No politics right now on the podcast. That'll come the week of November 5th.
Conspiracy theory stuff for me is entertaining to discuss, especially in the world of sports. Angel had another good comment here, and he says, won't be long until ESPN does a 30 on 30 on the San Diego sports curse, just like a Cleveland documentary.
Oh, yeah. The mistake on the lake and all that. Just amazing. Nick Canepa, the Page 2 columnist, the UT, who writes on Sundays, and now he started calling it Padrean, like chargering. Find a way to screw it up, you will screw it up, Padrean. That's a little harsh.
Yeah, Nick Canepa's all right. He's got a lot of old school terms. He always calls, I guess, the politicians in San Diego the ham and eggers, which is kind of cool. Thank God San Diego is America's finest city from a quality of life perspective. I mean, imagine if, we lived in a city that was just really a bummer to be here in the first place, and then the teams kept losing.
And winter's coming too.
Yeah. So at least we have something to be happy about. But it's just uncanny how this just keeps happening. And we finally get an owner in Seidler who, you got to love the guy. He spent whatever it took, and it still failed multiple times.
Just amazing. Okay, next question. I don't want to go deep down the hole.
Well, here's another one. Dave Sparks says, the San Diego sports curse is real. See? It is real. Let's keep moving, David.
Solve it, Dave.
David says, I'm glad the Padres lost the way they did. Tatis and Profar were unprofessional to taunt Dodger fans. Karma. Next year, they should play baseball instead of running their mouths early.
Well, it is interesting. It is an emotional game. But I think you do have to admit, David, those were two spectacular defensive plays. You don't see that hardly ever. Now, when Profar was doing the jumping jacks in the outfield, kind of egging the fans on, was that right? You're asking for trouble. When Tatis did his bump and grind and all that junk in right field after making a spectacular play, I don't know. Did he step over the line? So I guess if you believe in karma, I guess it came back to haunt them along the way. But those were two unbelievable plays.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the whole Profar robbing the home run was just, to me, was fun. And he didn't say anything to the fans.
No, but he was jumping up and down.
Well, yeah, but he's an entertainer. That's why we go to these sporting events. It's like the old school, like people that get upset were dancing in the end zone for the NFL touchdowns. It's just, come on, like just have some fun with it. I think the Latin influence in baseball is really good for the sport.
I concur with you.
Yeah.
And if Dodger player had done that and Mookie Betts was doing backflips in right field,
yeah,
you wouldn't be upset?
Well, I'd be probably, I'm the hair up on my back, but I would be really invested in watching what I'm watching.
Okay, we move on. Fans Forum. I told you we were going to be here till Thursday. Yeah. Next one.
Okay, let's go here to Willie. And Willie says, who's paying for the fix for the Tampa Rays Stadium roof? Lee says Rays are responsible. Metrodome had same material and cost $10 million in 2010.
The number that I had read in the Tampa Tribune, I think that's where it was in excess of $50 million. I mean, they had all the panels that have to be replaced, but the buttressing, the metal top, that's all got to be replaced too, because that was damaged as the 22 of the 24 panels were ripped off in that wind. I don't know where the Rays are going to play. Put no roof on it. I mean, they're going to tear that thing down anyhow in a couple of years when they build a new stadium on the other side of the bridge in St. Petersburg. But where are the Rays going to play? Outdoor baseball in St. Petersburg, Florida? Al-Lang Field is a great old historic ballpark. It's been there forever. It's been renovated multiple times. It's state of the art. They used a lot for spring training. I don't know. Maybe the Rays wind up playing outdoors. I don't know. Is Tampa going to invest $51 million to put a new roof on a stadium that's going to be torn down in a couple of years when the Rays move across? Interesting, tough set of circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, I can see, just playing with the quote roof open. That's what it's going to end up being. But the alternative is some people have said they could move and play in another stadium somewhere else. They could also be like the Harlem Globetrotters and just be always a road team. They'll find a way. But if in the summer months, it's got to be brutal, in terms of the humidity there.
Yeah, just like it's going to be in Sacramento.
Yeah, and who knows what else is messed up with the stadium? I mean, just the roof. I mean, the whole infrastructure could be broken.
Well, the infrastructure above on all the roof supports has been badly damaged in addition to all that covering something. And, here we are headed towards November 1st. I mean, spring training in March should be just around the other side of Christmas. And if you were going to repair it, how are you going to repair it in that short amount of time?
You can't. Yeah. And then if you remove those buttresses, then the structural integrity of the stadium might collapse. It's like a keystone in an arch when you pull it out.
I cut class. They taught engineering at school. I went drinking uptown that day also. Okay, a couple more here on Fans Forum before we get to social media. And I don't know that we want to do that, but go ahead.
Okay, just another quick line here from Willie. I thought this was a good comment. He goes, Sacramento has 2 major league franchises with the Sacramento A's now playing there.
That's right. They got the Kings and the A's. How about that? But I think this experience for the Athletics players is going to be miserable because it's bloody hot up there in the summer. And you're going to be playing. I mean, Pacific Coast League plays there. It's hot. It's just going to be hard. And Major League Players Association raised a real ruckus about this, but evidently there was no other place to look because they looked a lot of different places, but they didn't, they don't want to play in Vegas. It's hot outdoors. They want to play in Reno, hot. Those are both Pacific Coast League locales. So this whole thing is just a mess.
If you're building a new stadium just about anywhere in America, you would probably want to put a roof on it, either because it gets too cold or too much snow or too much rain or too much humidity or too hot.
And what's the limit on your credit card?
Well, yeah, it's a lot more, but they're turning these things into like Vegas resorts.
Sure.
You know, I mean, with these posh, bars and luxury suites and marble tile floors. I mean, it's like going to the Venetian or something on the Vegas Strip. So, I mean, there's going to be very few cities like San Diego where an outdoor stadium will make sense.
Well, San Diego, vis-a-vis the weather, makes all the sense in the world.
Right.
But I concur with you. And again, and I've been to Patriot Village in Foxborough, where once upon a time it was Gillette Stadium, and it was just an old stadium off Route 1 going towards New Hampshire. And then Robert Kraft came on board, and he's the one that creatively built the idea of business investments, entertainment centers. You go to Patriot Place now, it's not just that stadium. It's the whole entourage of venues, of shopping centers. I mean, it's really impressive. That's what professional sports has become. And it's a way in which they finance the new facilities as you build all these other business entities. Look at Petco Park.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not a ballpark. It's all the businesses in the gas stop. There's 5 hotels down there. Lucchino and Moores had the vision when they built the baseball stadium. How do we pay for this? Well, you do it with investments in facilities that are going to generate phenomenal tax revenue. There's 5 hotels dotting around the perimeter of Petco Park in that East Village area. That's how you do it.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, kind of looking beyond the sport itself, finding creative ways to finance it. You know, what's another interesting entertainment district is Frisco, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And the Cowboys have their training facility there, and they've got a small roof-covered workout facility, but they built a lot of bars and restaurants around there, and that's a pretty neat little place. So, yeah, that's the creative formula right there.
Even if your team got beat 49-7 at home, worst defeat since 1988.
Jerry Jones has got to be killing him.
Oh, on his birthday, much less. Okay, let's move on. We got social media, unsocial media comments. I'm sure there's a few people got some opinions that they've expressed, John.
Yeah, a few opinions. Okay, here, let's go down the list. And here we'll talk to Adam. And this is funny because there's a lot of comments on non-Padre content egging you on about the Padres. This is about the Phillies, but he jumps in and says, "Come on, Lee, why haven't you posted a post-Padre Dodger Game 5 video? Could it be that because you don't need to look foolish now by boldly proclaiming the Padres had a better roster and lineup than the Dodgers? You need to own up and eat your words."
I will. They wouldn't let me do commentaries while I was on a 14-hour trip home on the plane. Otherwise, I would have. But we will post some stuff tonight, and you will have access to respond accordingly once you see and hear what I do on, we call it verticals, on Instagram. That's where we do my much shorter one man's opinion segments. But I just spent an hour and a half explaining my theory about why they lost. So I haven't avoided it at all. I couldn't do videos while I was on a plane.
You know, it's funny, like if you look at the inside scoop of how we do all this, we do the podcast Monday, Thursday. When we wrap up the live stream, we videotape all of those shorts, those vertical videos. One man's opinion. And they're on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and all the social media things. And then I sort of release them roughly daily. And I think they think that you're every day doing that.
That's right. Don't bag on me, bag on him.
But you're back in town now. And yeah, so Padre haters, Dodger fans have been just waiting for you to come to grips with reality.
On we go, on social media. Next one.
Okay, let's go here to Sergio. Talk about your Padres disaster, 24 innings without a single run.
That's hard to believe. I mean, think about the percentage of success. Say I'm going to bring 8 relievers in and everyone's going to be perfect. That never, ever happens, but it did to the Padres in that final playoff game. I mean, that bullpen day, I never thought that was humanly possible, even though they're all established major league pitchers, and they got it done.
It's still mind-boggling. I mean, 24 innings. I mean, and so, there have been times when the Padre offense has gone cold. I get that. But this team has shown, they always said, we have the grit, we have the fight, we're going to claw back. No lead is insurmountable.
And they don't strike out, which is usually your rally killer.
Yes. But yet we just got 24 goose eggs in a row, season over, go home. And you're like, what the hell happened? We were up 2-1 going into game 4, coming home to Petco, and then everything went to crap. Just like that.
I don't have an explanation, and it's on them. It's not on us.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Next one.
Let's go. Here's a Rosenthal comment. This is from Soup is Surprising. Rosenthal spitting hard truths, and Padre fans just can't handle it.
But he's spitting hard truths about something historical, not modern day. You know, I didn't like Machado when he first came here, and I had tough situations with him in that clubhouse, and we didn't see eye to eye. And I said, screw it. You're going to act the way you act, and I'm going to comment on the way you act. But he's changed. He's evolved. Is he a complete leader? I don't know. Sometimes he still looks like he's got a little bit of punk in him. Tatis, great talent, but obviously the steroid suspension stains his rep. Still a really fine ball player. Little bit immature for me, but the guy does produce, and he stayed out of trouble since he came off the suspension. And in terms of Profar, that's just a highly excitable guy. You sign him, you know you're going to get some. Now, hopefully he's going to hit 280 like he did this year, not 226 when he was here the last time. That's his persona, and that's okay. So to say what goes around comes around, I think what came around was great Dodger pitching, and they kind of hit the jackpot with this bullpen day, and that's why the Padres season is effectively over, because good pitching beats good hitting.
Well, that's what happened. Yeah. And as a Padre fan, it's still just, it's incalculable how it all went down. But as far as those three guys are concerned in Rosenthal's article, Machado is a good dude, from my opinion. I think he's largely misunderstood. He's had his incidents of in the past. I got you there. But I think today he is a different man. I just think about when Machado came here. I remember Eric Hosmer put his arm around him and welcomed him in. And he has evolved as a man. Tatis is still young. He's still 24, and yeah, he's a little immature, but he's having fun with it. And his play on the field, generally speaking, backs it up.
Yep.
Profar, on the other hand, I don't know what the Padres are going to do, because he had been such a disappointment for so long. And then suddenly he had a great year this year. But really, the last third of the season, he slid off, and you got him on a 1-year, $1 million deal, probably the best value in all of MLB. But if you're AJ Preller, do you re-sign him? But, Profar's your guy, and he's always wanted to have Profar here. I think he comes back on a short deal.
Short deal, but what's the price tag? You can go for, his base, I think, was 1.5, and he earned another $1 million. So there's 2.5. But you're going to give him $10 million? That's what the agent's going to ask, is $10 million?
The agent should ask that. You know what'll happen is the Padres will give him $10 million for like 4 years, $40 million, and then the whole thing will go to hell.
Okay. Thank you. Next topic.
Okay, this is our last social media comment. This is from El Guapinator, talking about Pete Rose, and he goes, absolutely not. Don't you know how horrible gambling is? It's not like professional sports have completely sold out to gambling now. It would be hypocritical to allow him in. Oh, wait.
Well, the problem is, how do you write baseball history if you're trying to ignore the man's contributions? That's the big issue. Was he a slime ball? Was he a sleaze bag? Yeah, he sure was. And then the longer we've gone, the more we've found out about Pete Rose and lifestyle away from baseball. But at the end of the day, that was an enormously talented person. He had a lot of flaws off the field. Man, that stuff is coming out now. But how do you do it? As much as I dislike everything about Barry Bonds, because he cheated. There was steroid juice all over the baseball record book on his page. But at the end of the day, personality led the game. So I go back to what Bud Black told me a couple of years ago. Put him in the Hall of Fame and put an asterisk. Every time somebody sees it and your kid asks you, what's the asterisk for? You tell them Barry Bonds did steroids, or you tell them Pete Rose gambled on baseball as a manager. But if you do that, now what do you do about Shoeless Joe Jackson, 1919? That's another lifetime ago, multiple lifetimes ago. But yet those statistics were statistics. And the White Sox, did he throw the game? We don't know. He hit 356, I think, in that World Series. So he got money, but there was no theory that he actually tossed the game aside. So tough call. But MLB says no. Baseball Hall of Fame says no. And that's where we are. But their memorabilia is there. So how do you write the history without those guys being in the hall?
More hypocrisy. This is what makes baseball great, is all the history.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can talk about what they did between the lines and outside the lines, and provide the context and nuance for all these different players. But the main thing is that they're flawed human beings. just like we are, but they're on a pedestal.
Speak for yourself.
Okay. But it makes you wonder, though, if there is a correlation between guys that are at the top of their game in whatever world they live in, whether they're baseball, football, or the CEO of Microsoft. If they're at the top of their game in whatever they're doing, they have flaws in other categories of their life because they're so singularly focused on the one thing that makes them good.
I concur. And again, the presentation of the person in public is probably a little bit different than who the person is in private. Not in every case. There's great people in private, but at the end of the day, there are flaws per se. But we're talking about the baseball player and his impact on the history of the game. And if he got this memorabilia in there, does not he have to be in there? This argument's going to go on for a long period of time. Hey, listen, we hope you have enjoyed this extended argument. We are here Mondays at 1 p.m., Thursdays at 1 p.m. Just a couple of reminders. If you like what we're doing, we want you to share. Tell everybody what we do on our podcast. Want you to subscribe on the YouTube channel. That's real easy, so you get all the alerts every time we put something up. If you like sports, check my website. Now that we're finishing up here, go to my website. Just type what I have written every day of the week. It's there first thing every morning at leehacksawhamilton.com. Join us on Hacksaw's Insiders Group. And I know you're all on social media. I want you to join my Twitter All-Star team. We're trying to push this thing over the 10,000 mark of followers on X. We just went over the 6,000 mark subscribers on YouTube. That's pretty damn impressive for being on the air just 15 months. So do all that. When you go to Twitter, just type in my handle at Hacksaw1090. Hit the follow button. This podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you across San Diego, and now the new location up in Orange County. You got projects. They've got the materials. They've got the ideas, too, at DIXIELINE. John, I can't wait for Thursday because we'll be talking about where the ALCS is going, and then we got another weekend of college football. Have yourself a great couple days.
Love this time of year. October is great.
And we thank you for being part of Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast apps. For more content, go to leehacksawhamilton.com.